You will learn in this video how to create a Grafana dashboard to visualize the metrics and also the logs for an Azure Container Apps. Let's see how that works. So first of all, we need to create an environment, a demonstration environment using Terraform here, where we'll go to create a new Container Apps environment and some sample container apps. And then we create a Grafana instance, and then we create log analytics to collect the logs from those applications. How to deploy that Terraform code here, I provide the different instructions where you need to run Terraform init, plan, and apply, and that will go to deploy those resources. So make sure to go to clone and use this GitHub repository from your machine. Then when you deploy this Terraform code, you would have a resource group that contains all those resources: the container apps environment, managed Grafana, the container apps, and the log analytics instance. Make sure that the container apps environment is configured to send the metrics and to configure the monitoring here inside the logging options to send to Azure Log Analytics. So this is needed only to collect the logs from container apps. If you don't need the logs and just want the metrics, then you don't need to do anything. Just enable Azure Monitor and then you will get those metrics. So the applications I have here, they will provide and they will create logs. They will write the logs into that log analytics instance. In addition to that, I have here Grafana, a managed Grafana instance in Azure. This managed Grafana would have the right access to my Azure subscription because it's using a managed identity here that's of type system identity. And if I check the roles, I will see that here it have the monitoring reader role over my Azure subscription. It means that it can see all the container apps and all the container apps environment from within this subscription. So now I'll go to navigate to the dashboard offered by Managed Grafana. So if I click on the link here for the endpoint, that will open a new window. And from here, I would be able to access the home. So before this, actually, you will need to provide to perform a login operation. I have already done that because I've logged to this dashboard before. And then you will be able to view the default dashboards that are offered here, like here, the one coming from Azure Monitor and from Defender. So from here, I can view the Azure resources. I can have an overview. So this will tell me you have 11 resources deployed on your Azure subscription, the name of the resource groups in terms of monitoring and security. I have a workspace, and then I have some couple of other Azure resources. So this is more generic. Let's now try to check or to get an Grafana dashboard that contains the metrics coming from my Azure Container Apps. So for that, you have two options. Either we go to create our own dashboard by going to create a new dashboard, or we can import an existing Grafana dashboard. And that's what I'm going to do here. I'll go click on import, and then I can go to the Grafana community dashboards. And from here, I look for the dashboard that is called container Azure Container Apps Container App View. I find this one, and from here I can just go to download the entire JSON for this dashboard, or I can go to copy the ID of this dashboard. Note that this dashboard was created by the Azure Monitor team. So I'll go to copy that ID of the dashboard and can go back to my Grafana instance and then go to paste that ID here and then click load. When I do this, here it will show me an error because I have already imported that dashboard, and actually I can see that dashboard. If I move here to my dashboard list here, go to the one called Azure Container Apps Overview Dashboard, and then here I need to provide my Azure subscription, my right resource group name, which is this one here, and then provide one of the container apps that I've deployed into my environment. Let's choose this one, for example. And yes, here I can see that container apps is consuming 250 millicores and is consuming 500 allocated memory. And from here I can see that memory and CPU consumption. And you can see more metrics related to the network bandwidth utilization in terms of ingress and egress. And you can see also the number of the replica for this container apps. Great, so we get actually this metrics because this dashboard will connect here. Note the data source is Azure Monitor. Grafana is already configured by default to have a connection or a data source connection that is Azure Monitor. So note here supports all of these plugins, and the one that is configured with by default is Azure Monitor. And remember that Azure Monitor here, because Grafana have access to the entire Azure subscription, so it can get to access and get the metrics from Azure Monitor related to my Azure subscription. And of course, here you can create your own or you can edit your own dashboard. Let's say, for example, for this one, we can take a look at any of these data right here, and then we do edit, and then we'll be able to view here the query that will run against the Azure Monitor resource. So this one will run actually against the Azure Resource Graph, because Grafana have access to my subscription, so it will get access to all the resources provided by Azure Resource Graph. So then here it can write, actually we can write queries against Azure Resource Graph, where here we get resources from the subscription from the specific resource group, and then we query here a specific metrics. We do a data transformation, so that will be shown in megabytes. Great, so this is a dashboard to view the metrics from Grafana instance. Now let's move to the logs. So the container apps will produce logs for the container apps and also for the system. So those are application and system logs. We can view these logs on a dashboard like this. And you can create yourself this dashboard. So when you go back to the dashboards from here, you can go to discard. When we go to create a new dashboard, we can say I want to add a new visualization. Then we select the data source, and because here Azure or through Azure Monitor, I can access my log analytics instance because it's in the same subscription. And from here, I can select to view the logs coming from Azure Monitor, and then here I can go to select one resource. Let's say, for example, I want to query, or I want to run the query against the log analytics instance. So I get the data from there. And here I can go to run, for example, queries to say I want to retrieve container app console logs or app system logs or other type of logs related to other resources. Let's try with console logs. So I can write there and click outside of that text box. The right name is this one, _CL. If I click outside now, I should see data like this, but here if I switch to a table view, I'll be able to view the content of the logs, the data generated, the timestamp, the category, the name of the container apps environment, the name of the application itself, and the content of the log. And because this is Kusto queries, so we can run exact Kusto queries with where here I say, for example, I want to get the logs coming from the container app that have the name container apps and -nginx, and I want to show only the time generated, the container image name, and the container name. Let's try to run this. And yes, now we can get that new data where we can view the requested data. And from here, we can see all the logs coming from our container apps. And of course, I can verify that query if I switch here to one of my container apps. Let's go to the one of Nginx. And then if I navigate to the logs section, then from here, I can run the same query, run. And yes, here we can get logs like we get from Grafana. Great. So from here, we can go to save this Grafana dashboard and apply that configuration to the dashboard. Let's call it dashboard number 2, for example. Click save, and then seems it's still missing here data. Okay, save. That way we'll get our dashboard to view the logs coming from container apps. I hope this was helpful. Thank you.